I'm going to, Ms. Engineer, if you could bring me back to the, I think Liz Cheney is speaking, and the Brother Benny Thompson is there as well, making a statement regarding their observation. Could you bring that up for just a moment, and we can take a look at that to see exactly what they're assessing took place today? Give me some connect to that, please, sir.
If you heard my last question, we asked them what would they like to see from this hearing. And they, without exception, said we'd like to know who participated in it, who financed it, who encouraged it, who orchestrated it. And part of that is the challenge of this committee. And so we will follow the facts. And as I look at the committee, and I said to them earlier, I don't see one shrieking Violet, although we have one member who has a daughter named Violet. But other than that, we'll follow the facts.
To that end, Mr. Chairman, you guys are about the House supposed to go home for 7 weeks after this week. How do you build on this? What do you do next?
Well, we now have a body of testimony that we will review. We are in the process of putting that together. I've put some of the members on notice that they won't enjoy the entire August recess, but we will give them time to work in their districts, but conceivably we could come back before the end of the August recess and do some additional work. Yes.
Congressman Cheney and Congressman Kinzinger, what do you say to Republicans who are now calling for you to be stripped of your committee assignments as a result of you serving on this committee through an appointment by Speaker Pelosi?
All I have to say to that is we had a big attack on January 6th. We heard very emotional testimony today. And that's what's on the forefront of my mind. And if people want to get petty, that's fine. I think that reflects more on people than it does on the situation at hand. This is a historic moment, and this is a democracy-defending moment. And no matter the consequences, me and I know Liz will stand and defend democracy.
Last question. This morning, Leader McCarthy and some of your colleagues were out in front of the Capitol. Their basic message, and I'm boiling it down, was what did Nancy Pelosi know and when did she know it? Some of your other colleagues were down at the Justice Department or will be defending January 6th prisoners. What's your read on what other members of your conference are doing with their messaging today?
Look, almost every member of the Republican conference understood in days immediately after January 6th what had actually happened, and many of them said so publicly. And the fact that so many members of our leadership and others, the fact that they've gone from recognizing what happened on the 6th to protesting in front of the Justice Department on behalf of those who were part of the insurrection is something that I can't explain. I think it's a disgrace, and I know that this committee will be focused on getting to the truth of what happened in a non-political, non-partisan way. This is not a political campaign. This is deadly serious, and we'll investigate. We'll investigate every aspect.
What was your next hearing?
Well, we've not set any additional hearings.
The matter, what was just asked, Representative Liz Cheney, and her explanation there with respect to the fact that, and she responded by saying, a large number of Republicans, including the Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, on the date that that happened, were all fearing for their lives, including Mike Pence. And it was audible, it was clear, it was visible, it was empirical that they wanted to hang the Republican vice president to Donald John Tribulation Trump on that day. And so the Republicans on that day who feared for their lives realized that this was an assault on the temple of democracy. It was an insurrection at the clearest understanding of what insurrection means. And it was a violent mob that assaulted the democratic process here in America. They all said that. Kevin McCarthy himself blamed Trump directly in an open speech, and a large number of other Republicans. But a week or so after Trump threatened them with primaries, that they would lose their post and lose their position, and that he has the power to control the voting base of the Republican Party, that if they want to stay in power as congressional representatives, they had better shut their mouths, suck in their chins and their truth, and begin to tell lies, tell the same lie that Trump is saying. And we all know this. We all everybody knows that. They know that they feared for their lives, and they know that those rioters would have killed them had it not been for those gallant and valiant works of those police officers. But I want to say something to you, to all Americans. These Republicans under Trump have become beyond biblical demons. I'll have to search the scriptures. I've read through them. And I know that there are several names given to Satan. And I know that demons are demonic, are just awful, blasphemers. But I want to tell you that these Republicans have become beyond demons in terms of their vileness under Trump. Their evil statute under Trump. I'm not here to praise the Democrats. God forbid. They're baby killers, they're blasphemers, they're sex freaks, they're anti-God, they're racist, and many of them are rapists. I'm not here to defend them. But when I see people like Kevin McCarthy and Jim Jordan and a bunch of others in the Republican caucus, the Republican governors, the Republican state legislators, all across America, here's what I see. I wasn't in heaven on the day that Satan raised his hand against God. I wasn't in heaven that day when Satan raised his hand against the throne of God and said, I'm taking this throne. We rushing the throne of God. And he had a bunch of demons with him. If you read in the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, starting at verse 12 or so, the Bible declares that Satan had a group of riotous mob with him on that day when he stood before God and said, we're going to take down God and put Satan on the throne. Now, can I tell you what I see? I wasn't there that day. But what I see these Republicans and Donald Trump doing, I see Donald Trump as Lucifer, now Satan, with a mob behind him, and he attacked the throne of God on that day. Now, he lost. Satan lost, and God kicked him out. But he took a group of Republicans with him when he left. And the same lies that Satan is telling on earth now, Donald Trump, who is a Satan on earth now, is lying, and he got a bunch of demons called Republicans, called Jim Jordan, and Kevin McCarthy, and a bunch of others. And not only that, but he's got Fox News and Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham and Janine Pirro and a bunch of other demons. This is just a replay. What happened on the 6th of January is just a replay of Satan trying to take God's throne, and God kicked him out. But his followers are still with him. And Donald Trump is the epitome of Satan on earth. and his demons are still with him. They're still with him. And they're wreaking havoc. They tried to take our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Engineer. They tried to take our democracy. And I say our because, yes, I enjoy the democratic process here of this nation. I do. But that's what I see. That's what I see. I see this mob. Imagine this. That Capitol, it was a throne of God. Now, that isn't. It isn't. But I want you to try to get an idea of what took place in heaven that day. When Satan, Donald Trump stood on a platform a few hours before they got up to the Capitol here and said, we're going down there to take it down, right? You know he did. You know he did. He and Rudy Judy. But that's what happened in heaven. And every preacher, you're going to preach your best sermon ever. If you understand this analogy, now we understand exactly what happened in heaven when the devil tried to take the throne of God. And now we see it as a replay when Donald John Tribulation Trump tried to take the throne of democracy, and he and his demons stoned the throne and stoned the Capitol. It's preach it, preachers! Preach it. Preach it. Exactly what happened. And there's just some other sad news, and I promise not to inflict myself upon you any further. These demons, though they weren't able to take the throne, they were able to corrupt humanity. So everywhere you look among Japheth people, there's snot, there's filth, there's piss, there's dung, there's lie by these that stormed the Capitol and others that stayed home and watched and cheered and supported. They're now corrupting humanity. They weren't able to overthrow God, but they have corrupted a segment of humanity. Pure piss, dung, snot, filth is what this crowd is now out in the streets and towns and hinterlands and villages and seats of government all over America, corrupting the churches, the businesses, the schools, the children, the people. These demons, these same demons that Satan brought to earth with him that have corrupted everywhere you look. Mind you, the Democrats are corrupted too. Oh, I'm not here to praise them. Don't anybody get some sort of misunderstanding. That's how I'm just here. I'm saying that this has happened. And the Democrats are pure as a driven snow. They're bad. They're awful as well. No, they are. No, that they are. But it wasn't the Democrats that's the state here. It was the authority. It was the authority of the throne. And that's what they attacked. Perhaps if the Democrat had an opportunity, they may have done the same thing. But Trump, the trigger of tribulation, beat everybody to it. This is the best example of a biblical example of what happened in heaven that I have ever in my life ever dreamed of hearing. And you know Trump is the servant of Satan. He is the trigger of the tribulation. Then one final question would be, you will say, well, Pastor Manning, you are saying that God has allowed Trump to be as vicious, as blasphemous, as perverted, as pathological as he is, so that humanity can be brought to naught. And I'm saying yes. But I'm not saying it because I'm the author of it. I'm saying it because that's what the Bible declares, that the world in which we know it and humanity as we understand it shall be brought to naught through a process called the tribulation. And Trump is called Tribulation Trump. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. I want to ask you to come up close for just 1 second. And I want to talk to 3-year and older veterans of the Trust in the Lord Hour, the Open Rewards Prayer Meeting, the Manna Report, and the Pulpit of Power, those 4 ministries that we do every week, producing at least 20 different ministries or sermons every week. if you are a 3-year or older veteran, by old I mean 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 10 years, 12 years, older veteran of any of these ministries that we do on a daily basis every week, and you are not a supporter, you've not joined with the ministry to give to pledge your support and your alignment with what we've been teaching. My question is why? You've had 3 years to observe us. You've had 3 years to listen to us on a daily basis, all weekend, all day long, any hour of the day. We're broadcasting. You've had 3 years to watch our various successes. You've 3 years to watch our ups and downs. You've had 3 years to listen to the tenor or the consistency of what we have said, whether we are consistent or whether we're all over the chart in what we do and what we believe. You've had 3 years to watch people around us who have made the commitment to join with our ministry and church and to financially support it. And by the way, I want to give another shout out to Brother Jesse Munoz out there in San Bernardino, along with Goldfinger, who is just extraordinary giver, and others that do extraordinary giving to our ministry. My question is to you, if you are a 3-year veteran or older, why haven't you joined? Why haven't you committed? And I suppose some of the reasons would say, well, Pastor, man, I belong to another church. And why? How could you, after 3 years of hearing me teach about the Sabbath, about righteousness, about the tribulation, and listen to me faithfully as you do, and still go sit up in another pastor's face? How could you be? It's like a woman sleeping with 2 men. You know, one she likes during the week and the other she likes on the weekend. It's hypocritical. How could you do that? I mean, let's say you started 3 months ago. I can understand. Well, it may take you some time to evaluate. It may take you some time to look at me, to discover, who I am. You say, well, Pastor, that's not that I don't belong to another church or ministry. I'm with you. But there's some things you say I like, and there's some things you say I don't like. Why? Why is it that you've made a decision that there's some things that you don't like are stronger than the things that you do like? I am not a psychiatrist, but I am an analyst. And I have to tell you, I analyze the world, understanding. But the understanding and wisdom tells me this, that if there are things that a person such as myself that I am saying, there is no room to disagree with what I am saying unless your purpose is to find something to disagree with. Let's say, for instance, you say, well, I like the fact that you talk about Obama, but I don't like the fact that you talk about Trump. Let's say, for instance, you're one of those, right? Well, the purpose, it isn't that you just like what I say about Obama, but don't like what I say about Trump. What it is that you are looking for a reason to support Trump. It isn't that you don't like it. It's just that you don't like the fact that I'm saying something about it. It isn't that what I'm saying is wrong. Let me put it that way. It isn't what I'm saying is wrong or indifferent. You know it's right. But you've lived your life, or you've come up, or you've been raised with a doctrine that you can really live in a false reality. That's where you are. You've been raised in a doctrine that you can live in a false reality. That is to say, you can like the truth about Obama, but you don't like the truth about Trump. And it's the same truth. It's the same truth. There's no difference. But because you have been indoctrinated to live in a false reality, you are really a person who needs psychological debriefing. But trust me, there are zillions of people around the world who live that way. There are people who know what I'm saying about Trump or Obama is right. They know it. But they choose to ignore it based on the fact that they find a reality that isn't true, and they've settled in there. Say, well, that's one of the reasons why I've not made a commitment, because, I don't like the fact. I wish you would support what I support. But the truth of the matter is, then why do you come? You've given 3 years or more of your life to listen to me. 3 years of your life to listen to me, and you're not tired of listening to me yet. And you've given 3 years of your life, and over the past 3 years, your life has been greatly upgraded. You've learned, you've been educated, you've been enlightened. And let me say this to you. If you make the commitment, say, well, Pastor, I'm joining with you and I'm going to support, I'm going to do the tithe and offering, I'm going to do the first fruit, I'm going to keep the Sabbath, your life is going to soar. Now listen to me very carefully. Now, I'm not going to leave you alone after this. Listen to me very carefully. You come as often as you come over the past 3 years because you're being helped. You're being educated. You're being enlightened, right? Right. But the thing that you like, whether you say, well, I like what you say about Obama, but I don't like what you say about Trump. You do the same thing with the Word of God, such as you like the things I say, the teachings that I say, the way I explain the Bible, the way I break it all down and make it clear. But when it comes to things like money or tithing and offering or the Sabbath, well, that you know is also true, but because of your false reality, because you really need a psychological debriefing, because of your false reality, you choose not to believe the tithe or the first fruit or the Sabbath. Now, it isn't that it isn't true. It's as true as all the other things I've said. But you live in a false reality where you try to ignore the truth about the tithe, and so you don't do it. But everything else I say is good to go. Everything I ever say is good to go, good enough to share with your friends. It makes you laugh. It educates you. It enlightens you. But the tithe, well, and the full commitment to the ministry, well, the first fruit offerings, well, the Sabbath, that's all true as well. But you have chosen and you've been raised and indoctrinated to have a dual reality, which is dangerous. Jesus said this, and I'll leave you. He said, I would rather you be either hot or cold, but not lukewarm. You're lukewarm. You have a dual reality. He said, if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out of my mouth. I would rather you be completely stomped down against Pastor Manning, trying to take him down. Be fully against him. Be against him with all of your strength. Or be fully for him with all of your strength. But don't be in the middle, somewhere lukewarm. You're better than to be spit out of the mouth of Jesus if you're lukewarm. So what's it going to be? You're going to make the commitment and grow and be even better blessed, or you're going to continue to walk in the lukewarm spit of the mouth of the Savior. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant.